people thinking that Cyril was going to win the fight. At the end of the day, you can't expect people to view the game the way we view it, like us hardcore MMA enthusiasts, right? Like, people get so excited for the new guy, oh, he's flashy and his kickboxing looks so good. Another thing is a lot of people confuse MMA with kickboxing and boxing.
Mm-hmm.
They get so impressed with the guy with that one-shot knockout power. And they kind of look past some of the Khabib Nurmagomedovs, some of the Matt Hughes, the GSPs of the sport, the guys who are just truly well-rounded. I never lose sight. I never get too impressed with people who are impressive. I like to see longevity. I like to see them go through controversy. I like to see them go through hell in a category that they're not familiar with and survive that. That's when you gain my respect, for sure, being truly well-rounded in the game.
So I'll tell you this. So the first time I met John was the week of the Gane fight, right? And
I almost knocked your ass out.
Yeah, you almost, well, look, I didn't go too hard just because it was fucking fight week. And imagine if I was the guy that hurt you on fight week, right? I would never live it down.
Thanks for being nice.
And so
I'm the same way.
Here's one thing I love that you said the other day. I read a quote, and it was right after I think Tom Aspinall had won. And everybody wanted Tom Aspinall and fucking John Jones. They wanted it, right? And John says, guys, like, I get it. I get that you want this fight. No big deal. But every motherfucker y'all tell me is the next one for whatever reason. If he's the fastest, he's the strongest, he's got the best wrestling, he's got this and this. He's like, every time y'all put him in front of me, I put him down and that conversation ends, right?
Yeah, I find a way.
And is that not why you want to fight Stipe versus anybody else?
Yeah, that's the main reason. I feel like Stipe has balls. He has courage. He's not the youngest fighter, but I mean, that's a man.
Neither are you.
That is a man. Yeah, I'm not the youngest either. Exactly. Yeah, in sports years, I'm over the hill in sports years. That's for sure, and especially in combat sport. But Stipe, he's an honorable dude, and I know that he's a man at the end of the day, and I know that he wants this fight. When everyone else thinks that his back is against the wall, and this is a David and Goliath situation for him, I disagree. I think Stipe is a very capable athlete, and I think that I owe it to Stipe to give him that chance to fight the best fighter ever. And I think Stipe owes it to me to give me that chance to fight the greatest heavyweight ever. I think we owe it to each other. And I feel like we both would feel like we have unfinished business if we walked away not competing against each other. Yeah, I understand where Stipe's at, like just being looked past by a lot of people. And I respect him even more for training his ass off. And I know that in his camp, he expects to win. And so I respect him.
Yeah.
As far as these younger fighters, I look at guys like Aspinall, and I look at guys like Sergey.
Yeah, that's who I wanted to ask about.
Dude, they're amazing. Don't get me wrong; these guys are amazing. They're starter people in the first round. But as I get older, I have to look at it as a business and not just speak out of pride. But I have to speak out as my legacy and the business. And if the hardcore fans know who these guys are, that's great. But at the end of the day, I need to fight people that the mainstream public is going to be excited about. Because when you're in my position, there's always going to be this new challenge that's younger than you, and everyone wants to see if you can do it one more time. But it is what.
Was there a fight that you had early on in your career? Because they kind of UFC threw you at the wolves immediately, like you were fighting the best in the division real quick. Was there a fight in the UFC that you remember winning and then just realizing, all right, I am this good. I am never going to be beat. Was there a fight like that or a moment for you? And who was it? Who was the opponent that you beat that just gave you that sense of, I'm the greatest it's ever been?
There are three career-defining fights that I had. The first one was against a guy named Andre Guzman. I fought him at UFC 87. That was my UFC debut. Mm-hmm. And what that fight showed me, Andre, he was trained under the Gracies in jiu-jitsu. He was a black belt in capoeira, which was, you know, rare in our country.
Yeah.
But he also was trained with, I believe he trained with Roger or Jeff Mayweather for a while and all this stuff. He had all these credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really intimidated by it because I was training at the time and my buddy's farm, and he had like a 10 barn in the back of his farm. And I was training literally on a farm.
Yeah.
For my UFC debut. And this guy had all the glitz and glam. It was like Rocky versus Drago. This guy was Drago. He had it all. And I was able to beat him by unanimous decision. And I looked at myself as this punk ass kid from upstate New York. And I had just beat a UFC fighter, like a real UFC fighter at my first fight.
He was 5-0 when you fought him. Yep.
And so that made me realize, whoa, like I just won a fight in the UFC. I'm officially a professional athlete. Mm-hmm. So that like opened my eyes. That little old me from bumfuck wherever could go do something really cool. And then the next big moment for me was beating Stephan Bonnar. Stephan was the first famous person that I had ever competed against. Right. And so I had to deal with, I had been a competitor my whole life. You know, I started wrestling at 12, but for the first time I had to deal with competing against someone that everyone had heard of. And so that's the first time I had to get comfortable with, oh, you're going to get knocked the fuck out. Like, did you not watch his fight with Forrest Griffin? Yeah. Like, this is one of the most exciting, the American Psycho. Who the fuck is this John Jones kid anyways? He's going to get his ass kicked. And so mentally, I had to teach myself that I could do things above the norm that I had grew up around. I had to show myself that preparing for Stephan Bonnar. I got into the law of attraction and you know, just focusing on confidence and the power of the mind and how we need to give ourselves the best chances mentally before walking into any situation. And so Stephan Bonnar, beating Stephan made me realize, okay, not only can I beat a UFC fighter, but I can beat a famous person. Like I could beat a famous guy. And then the next career defining moment for me was, I remember when I got my hand raised at the Stephan Bonnar fight. When they raised my hand, I looked at the people in the audience. I said to myself, if I can beat him, I think I can beat any of them. Like this is actually possible. Like I'm a piece in the game, and why is my piece any less than anyone else's? So I elevated that night, and then Mauricio Shogun Hua was the third career defining moment for me. It was all at the beginning of this like mental growing up. I'm never letting this thing go. I'm never letting it go. I remember being in the cage. I was in the blue corner, and I was waiting for Mauricio to come out. And his brother, Shogun Hua, not Shogun, Ninja Hua.
Yeah.
Ninja Hua, he came out, and he was holding the gold belt. He was holding it up, and he was just so amped for his brother. And I'm sitting there in the ring, in the arena. I'm nervous as fuck, and, you know, I'm just like, man, this is my moment. Like, this is my moment in life. And I looked up at the Jumbotron, and I saw that gold belt, and bro, it was like as if I was like in some village, and someone like some poor village, and someone like put like a fucking big old stake up in the air. I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is my ticket. This is my ticket right here, right, to change my life. And I thought to myself, dude, you guys just fucked up. You do not put the fucking meat right in front of a fucking hungry lion who's never had fucking steak before. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they did by showing me that belt. And I won that fight and dominated that fight. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm never letting this shit go. There is a